Glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Hugh Hewitt inside the Beltway where it rained all night. Intermittent sleep as the rain swept over D.C., which is appropriate because of the doom and gloom of the blue check media out there proclaiming the end of days because of Bob Woodward's tapes of the president. Look, I'm about to play you the 3 excerpts that were put out yesterday. This is how you sell books. You get 20 hours of tapes, and everybody talked to Woodward on this. I happen to know everybody talked to Bob Woodward on this one. And like Fear, which is sitting on my shelf in my studio, this book, what's it called, Rage, it will be a fine read. It will be fully, completely detailed. You'll get the picture of the president in the whole, and he'll emerge fairly portrayed. But that's not how you sell books. You don't release the best parts of the Trump tapes. You release the parts that can then be manipulated to suggest he's a horrible person, which is exactly what was his publisher last time? Was it what's over here? I assume he's still with Simon & Schuster. He was Simon & Schuster last time, which is what Simon & Schuster wants. They want people talking about the book. So they put out these 3 excerpts. Let's start with the Kool-Aid excerpt, cut number 33.
Do you have any sense that that privilege has isolated and put you in a cave to a certain extent, as it put me and I think lots of white privileged people in a cave, and that we have to work our way out of it to understand the anger and the pain particularly black people feel in this country?
No, you really drank the Kool-Aid, didn't you? Listen to you. Wow. No, I don't feel that at all.
Listen to you. I've gotten that from the president a couple of times. Then cut number 31 on the virus.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older.
Yeah, exactly.
Young people, to plenty of young people.
So
what's going on
give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
Okay, that's March 19th. And by that time, most of the country is beginning to wake up. I was on this from December, but that's me. Here's the one that's most controversial, cut 31 from February 7th, the President Woodward.
So what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. This is more deadly. This is 5 per. This is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
Okay, so that's February 7th. Now you're saying to yourself, so what's the controversy about? Because of the way it's been portrayed. That's the entire excerpt. And you're nodding along, say, yeah, okay, the president talked to Xi and found out it's airborne. Of course, he doesn't know at this point the Chinese have lied to the WHO or us, but he finds out he's airborne. He tells Woodward it's airborne. Then he says on March 19th, this is a pretty tricky stuff. This is, I don't want to panic people. And then the white privilege stuff is completely aside. There's nothing here that's news. This was all on the public record. As Woodward said on March 19th, you've made a pivot. You're getting more and more concerned because the shutdown of the incoming from China did not accomplish the sequestration of the virus because it came through Europe, as people remember. And there is no cover-up, there is no hiding, there is no scandal. Now, the president himself went out and talked about this yesterday to the he's wrong to lump Woodward in with all the journalists who are selling the book on behalf of Simon & Schuster. Cut number 11.
How do you reassure the American public going forward that they can trust what you're saying?
Well, I think that's really a big part of trust. We have to have leadership. We have to show leadership. And the last thing you want to do is create a panic in the country. This was a horrible thing. It was sent to us by China. Should not have happened, should never have happened. This is a disgusting, terrible situation that was foisted upon us. And we have to show. We just don't want to use the best word is panic. We don't want to have to show panic. We're not going to show panic. And that's exactly what I did. And I was very open, whether it's to Woodward or anybody else. It's just another political hit job. But whether it was Woodward or anybody else, you cannot show a sense of panic or you're going to have bigger problems than you ever had before. Please.
He's right. And when I discussed it in December and January, and when I had on Tom Cotton in January and everybody else talking about the danger that this represented, never with panic, always with you'll be able to contain. He's right. Then on WEC West Palm Beach, the president says this about the vaccine, cut number 14.
No, the only thing that plays a role is life. I want people to live. I want people to be able to get out of this nightmare. We've done a great job with the ventilators, and now you'll see with the vaccines and therapeutics. But most importantly, to me, a great job is getting it over with. We saved millions of lives by closing, and now we open. It's really a super V. You understand what a super V is. We're setting records on jobs and so many other things. But no, this has nothing to do. Politics has nothing to do with it. This is a great thing for our country, and frankly, a great thing for the world, because this will go worldwide.
So I know blue check Twitter is all a Twitter with, oh, the president lied to us. No, he didn't. Oh, Bob Woodward should have revealed this. There wasn't anything to reveal that wasn't on the public record. People like me were talking about this in December and January. And the president always, he tried to keep the cruise ship away, always aware of the risk, trying to play it the same way. It's not the end of the world story that blue check Twitter thinks it is. In fact, it reveals the anti-Trump bias of blue check Twitter. The biggest story yesterday, and the reason you should vote for Donald Trump, he released the new Supreme Court list. He expanded the list of potential candidates, and he added on Paul Clement. He added on Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and Tom Cotton. I think Tom Cotton would throw himself from the top of the Supreme Court after 2 months if he was a Supreme Court justice. But look, I've only been in the building once. Actually, up to the offices once, and I think that the life of a justice is not the life of Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz or Tom Cotton, but Paul Clement would be fine up there. And Allison Eade Rushing is a terrific judge on the Fourth Circuit. I'm excited about that one. But Trump went on Hannity last night, and the president said this about the judges. Cut 29.
Outside of War and Peace, the most important thing a president does is select Supreme Court justices and judges. You know, we're going to have probably over 300 by the end of my first term, which is a record. Over 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, too. So that's a number that nobody thought even possible. And we will have that number, and it'll be all confirmed and done and great. And also Supreme Court judges or justices. And the whole country, it depends on these decisions, which way you go, whether you have a Second Amendment or not. I mean, the Second Amendment would be under siege. If I wasn't here, you wouldn't have a Second Amendment right now. You wouldn't have a right to guns. You would, whether you had it or it was just almost totally obliterated, but it would be in a very different form than you have it now. I've kept it totally as it was, and it's something I'm very proud of. And people, I think it's a real voting issue, a Second Amendment. Life, you look at that. So these judges are going to be making massive decisions, and the next president is going to get 1, 2, 3, or 4 justices of the Supreme Court.
He's absolutely right. And that list is a much bigger story than what he said to Woodward in February and March. But that's not what you're going to hear all day long from the anti-Trump media. I started with the excerpts so no one could say you're covering. These excerpts are not the story they're being made out to be. The Supreme Court list is the story that's being ignored because the anti-Trump media doesn't want the voter to focus on what matters most. Stay tuned, America.